Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm talking about skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops Cold War. Obviously the full game has not released, but I'm talking about alpha versus the beta version and what I expect to see in the full version. In the alpha version, very weak skill-based matchmaking. I know a lot of people talked about it. There really wasn't skill-based matchmaking. I was dropping 3, 4, 5, 6.0 KDs, while in the beta I was dropping maybe 1 on a bad game to 2, 2.3, maybe 3 if I was in a very bad lobby during the beta. A lot stronger skill-based matchmaking in the beta compared to the alpha. So what does that mean? Beta version of skill-based matchmaking is most likely going to be the full version of skill-based matchmaking. Now, the reason it's needed, it is needed in some sense. Now, is it stronger than it needs to be? Yes, in a sense. Because, again, a lot of people would call me a sweat, which, sure, fine, I could be referenced as a sweat, but I also do want to have time, take a break, because I do like to play the game competitively. So if I'm going to go try real hard, I'm going to play something like the ranked mode that should be in this game and should have the stricter, strong skill-based matchmaking. But even if there is a ranked game mode, there still should be a very toned down, or not very toned down, but at least a lesser skill based matchmaking in the public matches compared to a rank. The ranked mode, stricter skill based matchmaking, but skill based matchmaking has existed for, in some sense, in most Call of Duty games, not as strong. So they need to kind of go back to the older Call of Duty games. Not to where the point where you've got very unfair teams, and that's also a problem with skill-based matchmaking is the teams. The teams are fairly unbalanced a ton. They need to get better at matching the teams more fairly. There's a lot of times where you'll see a whole team positive, the other team pretty much negative except for one person, and that one person who's positive on that team isn't having fun. They're getting streaked on because their teammates aren't doing well. It is from a standpoint, like I've had this happen to me. When you are on a team that is struggling, but you're doing well, it's annoying when you're playing good players and your team isn't that good. It just causes an unfun and just very boring experience. They need to fix the team balance in the game. Solo queuing is awful because if you run to a team and they're giving call outs and they're trying hard, they're going to always be put up together. They're always going to be on the same team. And typically, when you're playing with a lot of players, they're typically better players. And so, when you're playing with a lot of more casual players that you really aren't communicating with, randoms in a sense, you really just can't do as well. Also, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Cold War content. But again, Cold War, a lot of people want skill-based matchmaking gone. I'm sorry, there needs to be at least some version of skill-based matchmaking, even though it hurts me more. Modern Warfare was a bad example. It was a very strict, strong skill-based matchmaking. There was really no ranked play. Don't say the CDL playlist was ranked. No, that was basically pubs, but you basically used meta weapons and you couldn't use lasers. That was pubs without lasers and suppressors, even though you were still allowed to use suppressors. So CDL playlist was not a ranked game mode, a ranked playlist. Modern Warfare, you saw a lot of people in public matches using the best weapons. Obviously, yeah, if you're going to want to win, you're going to want to use the best weapons. But when I try to play the game casually, test around, use the newer weapons, use different weapons, and just have fun using different weapons, it was a lot harder because I was facing M4s, MP5s, the more casual guns like the Grau, MP7, not as good as the M4 or the MP5, but they're still hold their own while I'm trying to have fun using maybe a RAM, using the AN-94, kind of those lesser used weapons, the Odin. And so I would love to have a game where I could use the weaker weapons and still have fun in this game. That's what I liked about the Cold War Alpha. I was able to use all of the ARs and have fun with them. They felt very balanced. Problem is, I don't like leveling up stuff, and that was also another problem. I did not pre-order on PS4 because I plan to play on my PC, but I noticed that a lot of people had stuff leveled up, so it was a lot harder to kill people when you had no attachments, which sucked. Leveling, I don't know why they didn't do a double XP event or not. So solutions that I have is weaken the skill-based matchmaking in public matches, not to where it's zero, not to where it's almost zero. Find that good middle ground like an older COD like BO4. BO4's skill-based matchmaking wasn't terrible. Could definitely be improved upon. There weren't many times where in BO4's kind of skill-based matchmaking where I was faced up against just unfair lobbies. There were times though, and it was obvious that they were parties. So they need to find a way for if you're solo queuing, you're facing other players who are solo queuing. That is a big thing that needs to be fixed in skill-based matchmaking because it makes it really not fun when you're playing good players who are all in a party, they're communicating and stuff. It just isn't fun to play that because you're just getting streaked on, your teammates aren't helping, it gets boring after a while. So solo queuing, they need to fix that. Ranked mode. So if you're going to weaken skill-based matchmaking in public matches, which they should do, they shouldn't get rid of it, they should lessen it, and then have your strict skill-based matchmaking with a ranked mode. And now you could say, oh, well, what about pro players? Pro players should only play in the ranked mode. Pro players, like real pro players who are getting paid over $50,000 to play this game competitively, to play it professionally, they're going to sometimes go and play a casual game. There's no reason that there should be no skill-based matchmaking, and they're getting into games with little Timmys and, Cool Man Jim, who's off his 8-9 hour work shift at the office or whatnot. There shouldn't be pros in those guys' matchmaking. The pros in public matches should still face somewhat good players. Now, not to the extent to where they can't have fun. They should play still upper level players, like me, for example, I guess. And they should play these players so that they still have a challenge, but they're still doing well, and they can still kind of have a way to have a break from playing the game competitively. Obviously, most of the times in ranked modes, they could still dominate people who are playing in ranked modes, but as a person who I'm probably in the top 10, top 5% of players. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a number of skill level. Maybe top 25%. I don't see the biggest problem with skill-based matchmaking. I've always kind of hated it in COD because I've always kind of struggled. But now I'm realizing in the games where I struggle the most with skill-based matchmaking are typically when I'm solo queuing against full teams who are playing together. So that's the one thing, the biggest thing I think they need to fix is just the solo queuing. If they could have just solo queues and solo queues, like a battle royale, you have solo modes, you've got squads, you've got duos, something to that extent. Like if you're got a duo, maybe get paired up with a bunch of people teaming up. So if you're playing with another person, you get into lobbies with teams. Also, problem is connection with skill-based matchmaking. They still need to prioritize connection. Connection needs to be one of the most important factors when factoring skill-based matchmaking. I shouldn't have to be lagging to play players above my skill level, but Treyarch can fix the lag and make it a fun overall experience. It should be cool.